Mic'd up.
And welcome to episode 8 of the Jack and Jack podcast. I'm Jack Little alongside my good friend Jack Rosenthal, and we're in for a good one today. Jack, how you doing, man? How's life been?
Good, long week, getting ready for another one. Internship underway. It's a good time to be home for the summer, the last one, maybe until we really start going into jobs. It's been good hanging out. I got rinsed in poker last night by my boys. It was a rough one. I couldn't see a card. I mean, it's just like when you're playing that game, the ups are so good, but the downs of that is just, it's awful. Couldn't hit a card, got rinsed. My 14-year-old cousin, it was his birthday yesterday. He was over at my house. He rinsed me as well. So
Oh
it
no.
was it was it was a bad day to be Jack Rosen on the poker table. But life's been good. How have you been?
Great. I love playing poker too. And at college, me and my 3 roommates, we used to play a lot. And then one of my roommates got rinsed for about $50 and he's never played again. And so we couldn't have 4 people. We couldn't play because he was like, I'm not playing because he got rinsed one time and that was it. He was done. I love the poker table, but we're doing good. We're getting ready to go to Mexico here in a couple weeks. Excited for the World Cup. Jack, tell them what you're doing in your internship.
So I'm working for a basketball league called Capital Hoops. It's in the DMV area, taking place at DeMatha High School, and I'm doing different social media things for them. So posting during games, highlights. We recently had a kid named Will Brown doing. He had 56 points and then 40 in the game before. He was going absolutely crazy. Caught an interview with him after, so I posted the interview to my channel. It's fun. I mean, you get to go. I'm there reporting, but also I get to sit there and watch basketball. So it's a good time. It's the game I love, and seeing performances like that, like this kid, he's got a few offers, but I think this really put him on the map. He's getting posted by bigger accounts. I think legitimately, I think he has real D1 talent. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on if somebody's like really good at basketball, like they're all right, but he's like very physically good. And he knows how to shoot good shots, has a good shot selection as well as get his teammates involved. They won 94-92 and he had 56 points and was still giving shout outs to his teammates. So I got a lot of high praise for that kid, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. But yeah, that's what I'm doing this summer.
All right, we've just had a question come in, and while we're on the kind of the life segment of the show, before we dive into too much of the basketball, let's see what James has to say.
What's up, fellas? Hope y'all are doing well. I had a quick question. Recently had a debate about the best fast food in the nation. And I know you guys both go to school down south, and I'm sure you've been introduced to new fast food chains recently. So my question would be, give me your top 5 fast food chains and why.
All right, Jack, you got 5 off the top of your head?
Yeah, I do. So
All
there we
right.
go, James. All right. Well, you mentioned the down south, so we're gonna start. I think best bang for your buck have to go Cookout. I think Cookout on a late night, either you're drunk, you could be dead sober. Cookout smacking. I think right after that, we're going to Chick-fil-A. I'm a huge Chick-fil-A guy. I think they got a great menu and a lot of different things on there, all based around chicken, but awesome. I don't know if you're gonna count this one, Chipotle. I'm gonna count Chipotle as a fast food
I'll
chain,
give it to you.
and I eat Chipotle probably 2 to 3 times a week. 2 to 3 times a week at school. I absolutely love Chipotle. At 4, I'm gonna go with the classic one, the Don. McDonald's. They're the OG of the game. I haven't been the biggest fan recently, but they are the LeBron James of fast food. They've been there forever. They're constantly at the top of their game. At number 5, I'm gonna have to go. It's been a new one for me. I'm gonna go Wendy's. I've been a huge Wendy's guy now. One thing that I will say about Wendy's is they have started to skimp out. It used to be in high school they had the 4 for $4 where you get the chicken sandwich, the nuggets, the fries, and the drink for $4. Then they changed it. All right, you can only get the chicken sandwich if you do a $5 biggie bag. Then they come out with the 4, 6, and $8 biggie deals. So now it costs $6 to get that. So over time they're getting pretty greedy. That's my top 5 fast food chains. Jack, what do you got?
All right, my number 1 is Cane's. I love
Mm.
Cane's. People are split on Cane's. I know that people are kind of in and out on whether they like Cane's, and we could have a no, whole nother conversation just about chicken if we want to. But Cane's is my number 1 fast food. I absolutely love it. Cane sauce is so gas. The toast is unreal. The toast is so underrated as a part of that meal. And when you get that double toast when you sub out the slaw, I don't know if you saw it, but the creator of Kane says that he does not get the slaw. He gets double toast every time, which is so valid. And then they asked him, "Well, why do you have the slaw?" And he goes, "Well, I mean, some people like it." Just cracked me up.
Better.
Just cracked me up. So that's one for me. Chick-fil-A comes in at two, back-to-back chicken, but you gotta love Chick-fil-A. I love the spicy chicken sandwich now they've got at Chick-fil-A. So good. My number three, this is where it gets a little interesting. It could be a couple of different places. Actually gonna go with Chipotle as well myself. Love a good bit of Chipotle. I love that you gave that. So that gave me free reign to use Chipotle. Qdoba also subs in there for Chipotle. I think it's like basically the same. Like I think they're both really good. And then at number four, I'm gonna go like I don't know how we do the sub places. Like, are they fast food? Do you consider a sub place to be fast food?
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Subway because that's what I've had the most. But definitely, I could see other sub places filtering in there, like whether that be I'm a big Penn Station guy. Jersey Mike's is good. I don't have a whole lot of Jersey Mike's, but it's good. And then I also like Firehouse. So one of those are kind of sliding in there at the four spot, and then at the five. Now this is a weird one. Fazoli's. You know Fazoli's?
Never heard of it. Never heard of
Fazoli's
Fazoli's.
Fazoli's is gas. People do not know about Fazoli's. It's like I think it's a Midwestern thing. And
Okay.
where I'm in Kentucky, we have some Fazoli's. They are so good. It's like fast food Italian. I love Fazoli's. It is very, very good and very underrated in terms of fast food.
That's class. We're gonna have a separate debate on the subtopic. Going back to the subtopic, you think Subway's the top sub out of all the sub spots? Subway's your go-to there.
Subway is just the one I've had the most experience with. Like I'm from a relatively small town, so we've had Subway and Jimmy John's, and I've always liked Subway because I get the pepperonis on there, and they heat it up, and with the Italian herbs and stuff, it's pretty good.
Okay. I can get down with a nice Subway footlong. Now, since they've gone away from the $5 footlong, it's been a
So
harder sell.
expensive.
It's been a harder sell for me. I'm a huge Jimmy John's and Jersey Mike's guy. I think that overall, I think it has to be Jersey Mike's number one. That's my top right there. I'm absolutely a huge fan of it. I think the Mike's way, you can't get away from it. Jimmy John's, they're up until 4 a.m. in Clemson. That is a huge one for me. You're out late, need a nice sub. They'll heat it up for you too. Jimmy John's, Jersey Mike's my top two. Both gas, Subway gas too. You love a good sub.
See, I don't have any experience with Jersey Mike's. Everyone says Jersey Mike's is good. We're getting a Jersey Mike's in my hometown just now, but there's not one that I've ever been to in Athens. And I've been to one in Atlanta, right next to Georgia State, where I call some games. There's a Jersey Mike's there. I've been there one time, and it was like kind of mid. And that might have been my fault. That might have been my fault. But
You order.
I'm really plain. It was just like a plain sub. But it was just pretty mid. So I was not a huge Jersey Mike's guy, but maybe I need to try it more. I think because everyone
Cheesesteak.
loves Jersey Mike's cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
Okay,
No, nope. I don't like peppers though. No peppers. Onions. Get the cheese. Maybe a little lettuce and mayo on there. Then you're rocking. And that's how
all
you
right.
watch NFL Sunday.
We'll give the cheesesteak a go next time.
There we go.
All right, well let's dive into it, Jack. The NBA playoffs last night. Wemby hit a half court shot. What is going on?
That's all you can do. Is just laugh. The guy's ridiculous. I was talking to my brother today. Wemby is +5 in their two losses this series. Shea is -33 in those games. So I mean, it took me a little while, but I'm gonna say it. Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the NBA right now. I think on both ends of the floor, the way he's able to dominate. You watch guys who drive in the paint, they see him, they won't even shoot. They drive in, they see him standing there, pass it out immediately. I was talking to, and shout out James with a couple questions, but I was talking to him about this. If you look at it, Victor Wembanyama's standing reach is 9'9". For a person who's around 6 feet tall, that equates to them playing on a 7'4" basket. That is how he sees the game. So he's shooting half court shots in the mini hoop. He comes down and drills it. That guy is unbelievable. And if the Spurs win this series, they could definitely beat the Knicks in 5 or 6 games. and win the NBA title in Victor's third season, which honestly would put him in a lot of uncomfortable conversations, would make him 100% the MVP frontrunner for next season. He's probably going to win 8 straight depoys, get 15 straight first team All NBAs, depending on how long he plays. This guy is unbelievable. Something that the NBA has never really seen before. I know Shaq says Bol was really the first guy to be able to dribble and shoot. Bol was never this good. But
No.
Bol was never nearly as good as Wembenyama really anywhere. The IQ's not there, the drive's not there, and I feel bad for Bol because he did just get hurt and tore his ACL, so he's out for the season. But Victor Wembanyama,
We got some technical difficulties here with Jack.
got anything? You got anything for that there?
Jack, I
Uh,
lost you for a second.
Okay. Am I off or are you
Can you
off here?
repeat that?
Did you?
Am I still on? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, yeah. How much? Okay. Yeah, yeah, I'm back. We're back here. Uh-oh.
I'm still
It says I'm
delayed.
good. Are you? It says I'm good here.
Says I'm good too. Hold
Okay.
on, let me hop off and hop back on real quick.
Gotcha. Let's see who you got, Lukey.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Yeah, I was just going into how I've never seen anything like Wemby, and he could be. I mean, he's something I've never seen before, and he's a different beast.
Completely. I entirely agree. I'm with you on him being the best player in the league. I agree. He made a really good point the other day. Defense is 50% of it. Shea's an okay defender, but Wemby's an elite defender. You can't say he's the best player in the league and not at all consider his defensive ability. Of course, the offensive ability is arguably the more difficult part of the game for a lot of people. So they're going to lean towards the offensive ability, but Wemby's ability on offense is definitely top tier, and his defense is probably the best in the league by a mile. And so when you kind of take those together, compiled with his size and ability to affect the game, Wemby is the best player in the league. Completely agree, and definitely the most impactful.
Yep. I think you hit it on the head in both those places. I mean, just like the gravity that he has on both sides of the ball is absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of teams try to put, I mean, Alex Caruso, they tried this when they played the Nuggets, and they put him on Jokic, where it works more with Jokic than it does with Wemby, just because Wemby, I feel like, has a better arsenal and is more slick with able to get to his spots. Jokic is a huge and backs you down and just does whatever he wants, gets off his little hook shot over you. But I mean, there was a play late in the game where Wemby just spun off of Caruso, threw it down, and the game ended there. That it really iced the game. His gravity is absolutely ridiculous. Players don't want to shoot into him. This is really a tough spot for the Thunder. They need to win Game 5. If the Thunder lose Game 5 at home, I think the Spurs will close it out at 6. Darren Fox was talking about how Greg Popovich went into the locker room after Game 3 and had some choice words for them about how bad they played and how that is not Spurs basketball. And they responded with a 22-point blowout win in Game 4. And I think they carry that into Game 5. It's going to be another fantastic game. This is definitely the best series of the playoffs so far. I think will be the best series of the playoffs. And for years to come, I think Spurs versus Thunder is going to be the one to watch in all of the NBA.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you look at this game 5, and it feels a little like a game 7 for the Thunder, in the sense that if this goes back to San Antonio, you're going to expect the Spurs to win the series. You can't be down 3-2 going back to San Antonio. You just can't. And so for the Thunder, they've got to win this one, and then it'll take a little bit of that pressure off. They get one of the next two, but they cannot lose this game. I think the Spurs could lose this game and then try to steal another one in Game 7. But it's just looking like overwhelmingly the Spurs are going to win when they go back to San Antonio. So if the Thunder do not get this game, man, the Spurs are going to feel really, really good. They're going to be feeling great heading back to San Antonio. So, I think this is a crucial game 5, and I'm excited to see where it goes. On the other side, Jack, the Knicks 3-0. They've won 10 straight in the playoffs. They might be the hottest team in the NBA right now, which is kind of funny to say because there's 4 left. But 10 straight wins, and they're playing like this. I mean, do you think they've got a shot?
I really believe that if they're able to close this out in 4 and this Thunder and Spurs series goes 7, because rest is so important, and I get the Knicks came out horrible in game 1, Cleveland went up on them a lot, but since then it's been all New York, and rest really plays a factor when you're playing these long games against really good teams. It takes a lot out of you. And I mean, Stefan Castle was in game one was talking about the double overtime. It took so much out of him. It was the hardest game of basketball he's ever played in his life. And if they are able to close out in four and just watch and study these teams, I think they do have a much better shot than I was giving them before. Now, do I think they're going to win? No. I think they're great, but I think on paper and on the court, I think the Spurs and Thunder are just too strong defensively. I think they're going to be able to take because the Knicks are really good when Brunson's able to get to his spots and create his own offense, which helps everybody else. But I think that the defense that they bring at the guard position will really be able to take Jalen Brunson away from that and make other guys have to score. Where I think is where the Knicks will struggle. And if Brunson's not getting off, he had a game in game two or game three where he did not, or game two where he did not score a lot of points. They were still able to win in pretty good fashion. But I think that will not be able to happen against a better team like the Thunder and Spurs. I just don't think Cleveland has the firepower. I just don't think they're a good enough basketball team to really show New York what they're going to experience in the finals.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cleveland is just not there yet. They, obviously got a favorable draw with the Pistons. That whole quadrant up there was just not good between the Pistons, Magic, Cavs, and Raptors. It kind of shook out the way that I think is really unlucky for the Atlanta Hawks, who I'd argue was the second best team in the East at the end of the year. I'd argue that the Knicks were the best, and then it's Boston and Atlanta 2 and 3. And you saw what the Knicks did to the Sixers with the sweep. You saw the Celtics go down to the Sixers. Atlanta put up a fight with the Knicks and really made it difficult for New York. So I think that if you made me re-rank the East, I would have Atlanta either as the number 2 or number 3 team in the East. So now the Knicks really haven't faced a challenge since those couple of games against Atlanta. So when they do get to the finals, which at this point we're just gonna act as if they're going to make it because a 3-0 comeback is unheard of, especially in an Eastern Conference Finals. It obviously could happen. You never know, but that's not how we're going to spend this conversation.
Mhm.
But when the Knicks do get to the finals, they're not really going to be battle tested in the way that either the Spurs or the Thunder have been. And the Knicks A aren't that great, and B won't have been battle tested outside of the rest factor, Jack, which I do agree with you would help. There's just not a whole lot there that I'm thinking the Knicks could beat either of those teams, but they certainly could maybe get a game or two. Certainly take it to 6. I'd be surprised if they got to 7, but they have the pieces to get it to 6.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we look at it last year, that Indiana team had no business being in there with OKC. And they took it to 7. And before Halliburton got hurt, they were up in that game. I mean, he was obviously going crazy at 3 quick 3-pointers, but they were in that game. And we thought, and everybody, I don't think anybody thought that was going to be really a close series at all. The Thunder were overwhelming favorites in every single game, thought they were going to be able to do it in 4 or 5 games. So that's the thing that I love about this is that we really don't know. Now, obviously, we're on the same page here. The winner of the Western Conference Finals, we both believe, will be the winner of the NBA Finals. I'm excited because New York is so hot and they believe it in themselves. Because a lot of teams, I think Cleveland's kind of lost that belief. After they choked game one, we talked about how it was going to be really hard to come back from that series. But that self belief, New York believes that right now they're the best team in the NBA. And they believe that no matter who they face, that they can beat them. And they think they can probably, I don't think they can beat them easily. And they probably know that, all right, these two teams are better than any team we faced up until this point. But regardless, you're winning basketball games at a very efficient rate in a lot of dominating games. They swept the Sixers. They're on the verge of bringing the brooms out again against the Cavs. If they're on an 11-game win streak going into the NBA Finals, it's going to be very hard to stop. Regardless, if Jalen Brunson plays the way he's been playing, it's anybody's game.
Jack, I saw a post today on Twitter, and I want to know what you think about it. It was a picture of the Celtics, or sorry, the Knicks in the Celtics uniforms, and said, if this was the team in the Eastern Conference Finals, this is the same team, but they're wearing Celtics uniforms. They said everyone would pick them to win. Do you think there's something about them being the Knicks that people are picking against, or is it the team itself?
I don't think I don't think that's 100% true. I think there's maybe 10% truth to that. I feel like Boston, with having the most NBA championships, I think they obviously have that winning aura to them. But this team is not as strong as the Celtics team is. I mean, I think Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown are both the best player on this Knicks team, and I think they're just having those two guys being absolute superstars. But people. I mean, I absolutely disregard for any non-biased thing. I don't like Boston sports in general. I think they win too much. And I think the Boston fans are very lucky. And I might just be a salty Detroit fan who's never seen a major championship. But I do. I think obviously people think the Knicks just can't win anything. Obviously, they haven't been to the finals in 27 years. But no, I do not think people would be picking this team to win if it was Boston. Do you think so?
Part of me thinks a little bit that they would be picking them. I don't know that they would actually have any more of a chance if they were wearing Boston uniforms. That's not necessarily what I'm saying, but I do think that
Okay.
more people would pick them.
Okay.
I think the same thing happens in college basketball, for example, in the NCAA tournament. When you see Duke's logo, you're like, well, it's Duke. They're probably not going to lose to this, Siena, right? But you see Purdue on there, and you're like, well, Purdue might lose, despite the fact that throughout the course of the season, in this particular example, Purdue was a better team than Duke, right? Like, it's tricky because the brand does play into the subconscious, I think, and people aren't able to completely diverge the two. So I'm always curious as to how much. There is some kind of logo bias going on, right? And I think there's a West Conference bias. And I think there has been for quite a while. We've just decided that the West is better because all the media on the East kind of poops on the East, and the teams in the West kind of get off scot free a little bit, other than the Lakers. But I mean, doesn't it feel like there's way more criticism on the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Cavs, like other ones of these big franchises that are in big cities on the East Coast? They get more criticism than some of these. Like, I mean, who's talking about Oklahoma City and San Antonio? Like, they don't have enough fans for ESPN or these major companies to talk about them, and they don't poop on them as much. So it's just kind of the product of the way that the media works, that some of those teams kind of get propped up a little bit more. Now, I do actually think that the Thunder and the Spurs are better than the Knicks. That's not what I'm saying, but they certainly benefit from the lack of media attention, and especially the media trying to tear them down.
Yeah, let me rephrase my answer there because you made a really good point with the Duke logo. I think a lot. That's a really good point because people do really are like, all right, who cares? People, some people who pick brackets, they don't even know who's on Duke's roster. They couldn't even name two players. But you're right, they're picking them to win, and a lot of people we're picking Purdue to lose because their history of getting upset. So that's a really good point. So to rephrase that, and not saying they're better, but I think yes, I think people would think they have a better chance if it was Boston. I think there's a lot of teams out there that could have these absolutely loaded rosters, but if they're not a big name brand team. I think the logo bias is definitely a real thing. I think over time it's kind of gone away a little bit from the Lakers just because they haven't really ever since they've had one season really in 2020 where they won the ring, but they hadn't really been good a long time since maybe Kobe. Um, but I do agree with you. I think logo bias definitely plays a point, and that's a really good point you make. Actually, I would save that one on the Duke Sienna one. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and on that point with the Knicks, it actually does the reverse. The Knicks have been so bad for so long that everyone's like, I'm not picking the Knicks. They've stunk. And so you're not going to pick the Knicks because they're the Knicks. And not because it's the team that's on the floor, but because they have that logo and they play in Madison Square Garden. I think that definitely happens. Let's hop into some of these questions though here before we wrap up our NBA thing. We'll listen to James's first.
Another question here, diving into a little bit more sports. So, looking into the finals, I know the Knicks are obviously the hottest team in the league right now. But do
Of
you
course.
think the Knicks' physical style of play is going to be able to work against, faster, lengthier, girthier team in the Spurs and OKC in the finals?
Yeah, the Spurs, especially with Victor Wembanyama, a very long team, and that's gonna be hard to go against. The size, obviously, especially inside, is very hard to deal with, and if they're really able to get under them and be able to do that very well, I mean, finishing is going to be a huge thing in this series. I think obviously the way Wemby's able to protect the rim, it's going to be very hard. But the New York Knicks, again, very hot. So very interesting question, very good question. We appreciate you, James. And no, it's gonna be a very interesting series. I think the length, and the girth is gonna be a very hard thing to deal with for the Knicks.
If the Spurs get there, I think the Knicks have almost no chance because they're just going to sit Wembanyama almost in the middle of the lane and block Brunson's step back fadeaway. I mean, that's literally if you take that away from the Knicks, it takes away like 50% of their offense. And so if you could take away the little pivot in the lane and fade away from the free throw line, and you can take it away with a 7'5" guy, it's going to be so tough for the Knicks to score. I don't know where their baskets are going to be coming from. I don't know where their consistent offense is going to be coming from. Because when you take that away, it takes away the threat of that being there, which is a huge threat that the Knicks have when they drive. So I'd be really concerned about them playing the Spurs. The Thunder can't do that as much, but they're also more physical. So I really don't think it's a good matchup either way for the Knicks. And quite frankly, I think they're going to get beat in 5, maybe 6 games. But let's hop into Luke's question here. Thanks again, James. We appreciate those 2 questions. Love the first question too.
Hey fellas, huge fan here out of Cincinnati. So after the San Antonio Spurs handled the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 4, do you think the series is getting hot and heavy, or are both teams just teasing us before someone finally finishes in 6?
Cincinnati, that's not far from me. That's fun. Is he your Xavier fan, buddy?
He goes Xavier, 100%.
Yep.
Yep, that's my
Um,
guy.
So yeah, Luke, go Muskies. Jack was big on the Muskies heading into the tournament last year, and they were not very good. They lost to Texas, but it was a good effort. Um, wait, they beat Texas, right?
They beat Texas and then
They
lost.
beat Texas and then they
Beat
lost.
Texas and
Yeah,
lost. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
that's
we
right.
made
That's
some
right.
money. We made some money on Texas, but then just not enough talent to be honest. The Musketeers basketball organization needs to definitely they need a big donor, alumni donor, to throw a bunch of money in, and then we'll rebuild a little bit. I like what they got going now with Patino. I think he's a good coach. And I mean, he was obviously wasn't the best at Minnesota, but they also didn't give him the best opportunities to be great. I'm a big I want the Muskies to win. I mean, I want the Muskies to win. Well, they're a very frustrating team to root for. Their team last year was one of my least favorite college basketball teams I think I've ever rooted for and watched. So I do feel bad for Luke in that sense. But to get into that question, I do think there is going to be a lot of teasing in this series. I do think we're gonna wait to 7 for this to be finished. I think it's gonna come down to who hits the hardest in Game 5 and Game 6. I think if Oklahoma City is able to do it in Game 5, and dominate the Spurs, I think they'll be able to win Game 6. If it's very close, I think the Spurs are going to win Game 6 just off the fact that, all right, I think it comes down a lot to belief. I think both these teams are so good. Belief and making shots. Both these teams believe they're the best. It's really the Thunder couldn't make a shot last game, and they got blown out. It just comes down to making shots. I mean, obviously, it's the most important thing in basketball. You can't
Yeah.
win if you don't score, but it's more than that. I mean, it's about getting the looks, the actions, studying the film on the defense, because a lot of the looks the Spurs were getting early were not hard looks at all. Very easy. And that was definitely a factor. So I do think the series goes 7, and we appreciate that first question, Luke.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. That was great, and yeah, I agree with you, Jack. I think we go 7. I imagine the Thunder win 5, Spurs win 6, Thunder win 7, and that's how we'll wrap up the series. And it'll be a lot of tight games. All right, Luke. Second question here, also
Hey
NBA.
guys, another question on the topic of NBA. So how worried should the Cavs be that they keep shooting blanks against the New York Knicks? Because right now it feels like they get into position almost every night. They build up all this pressure, but they still can't finish when it matters the most. Thanks.
Yeah, the Cavs are an interesting situation because they're going to pay Harden and they're not going to get back here because Harden is not conducive to winning. I'm not a James Harden guy at all. I don't like how he plays. I don't think he's a good thing to have in your franchise if you want to win at the highest level. I think that's been proven time and time and time and time and time again. I think the Cavs have made a bad decision. If they decide to hold on to Harden, which is looking like what they're going to do, Donovan Mitchell's a superstar, but he's not enough of a superstar to get you to the finals. The Cavs just aren't good enough. They're fortunate to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and uh, I just don't think that it's a good enough team to win an NBA championship or even get to one. Jack, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of different departments, shooting blanks is not a good thing at all. And the Cavs you're right, are shooting a lot of blanks. Nobody's a bigger Donovan Mitchell guy than Luke here, and Donovan Mitchell's been shooting a lot of them as well. And if those guys are not firing, James Harden's been an absolute jester. He flops so much. I mean, him and Shea are the two biggest statistical floppers of all time. It's become hard to watch in a sense. But the pressure that's being applied to them in this series by New York is very hard to handle. And I don't think they've been doing a good enough job of that. And I think that's why they're down 3-0 in this series. And I do believe the Brooms are going to be brought out, and if not, they're going to bring the sweeper behind it. It'll be a gentleman's sweep. They'll put the tux on and then bring out the brooms. So I think it's going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. One of the two there. Well, I think I can almost guarantee the series does not go 6 games. Cleveland looks demoralized. They gave up last game. I mean, I talked about New York in a video yesterday how they are just the better team, the more confident team, and they want it more. They just want it more than Cleveland does.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, Jack. Well, we'll move on from the NBA talk now and hop into some of the soccer talk. The Premier League season comes to a close. Arsenal wins the league. Spurs stay up. West Ham relegated. West Ham and Millwall will play each other next year. Cinema. Sunderland get European football. Chelsea finished 10th. What were your big takeaways from Sunday?
Spurs staying up was my big one. West Ham going down. I think we had many conversations for a long time of what really was going to happen there, and it was scenes when they stayed up. I'm a big Portnoy guy, saw his video talking about it. We're not going down. This is the whole thing. Is little emergency pressers. That was Electric Factory. I'm happy that they're staying up. They were the first soccer team that I really liked when I first got into the Premier League. Now, obviously, my favorite player all time was Charleston. Still plays for them. Shame they didn't get called up to the Brazil squad. Absolutely ridiculous. The guy's an absolute legend of the sport. Blasphemy that he wasn't called up. And I love Neymar, but Richarlison's in his prime. You gotta have Neymar on the squad though. But that was my big takeaway. Chelsea finishing 10th. What a horrible end of the season for the Blues. Absolutely terrible. I mean, you couldn't write a worse script after they were in contention for European football. They absolutely collapsed. I think they could go through 150 managers and they still won't find the right one right now. I mean, I don't know what they want. They want people to go undefeated. And if you go 25-1 and you lose, you're getting fired. I feel like that's how it feels like right now in Chelsea. So it's going to be very interesting. But those two are definitely my big takeaways of the weekend. Obviously, Arsenal had already had it won. So that wasn't really something about Sunday. But what were your big takeaways?
Yeah, it's great to see that Spurs stay up from a league standpoint. It would have just been really funny as a fan standpoint to see them go down. West Ham is an interesting club to me because they tried to make themselves a global brand and they tried to be something that they weren't, and now they're relegated. And I'm curious how that changes going forward with West Ham and whether they kind of go back to just being a Brexit English club once again, because what they've been trying to do is just not working. And they wanted to be big money. They moved to the London Stadium. It has no soul. When it was, when it was the old stadium, they had so much fan support, and it was such a great community. And now it's a little plastic. So I don't hate seeing West Ham go down. Obviously, a very big club to go down, but I just don't hate seeing it. And then, Chelsea just struggled at the end of the year. It's just what Chelsea does. They're just not a great team. And when they took away the manager, and I'm not a big Liam Rossinier fan. I don't think he was very good, but I do think he would have got more than 6 points out of the last 9 games. And then Sunderland makes European football, which is awesome. I love Sunderland. It's a great story. They've got a good little documentary on Netflix. I like to root for Sunderland. The Black Cats will be under the European lights next season. It's going to be really cool. And they've got a nice squad. They can really build on that squad now and likely stay in the Premier League for years to come. Should be a fixture. Always great to have the Tyneside Derby with Sunderland and Newcastle there. So very excited for the future of the Premier League. I think next year's league will be interesting because you relegate two sides who I thought were really bad and one that I didn't think was that bad. And you're bringing in one that I think might be able to stay up and two that are definitely going back down. I think Hull City, who came up this weekend, may be one of the worst teams ever promoted to the Premier League. They are so bad. And their best player is Ollie McBurney, who couldn't even start at a Sheffield United team that finished 20th in the Premier League, and that was when he was younger. So I don't know what Hull's gonna do. They're gonna have to completely revamp their squad. If I were them, I'd just keep all the money and then go back down and then try to build a better championship squad over time. Maybe get a player or two, but only affordable purchases. It's so hard for a club to do that, and you saw it with Luton Town. Luton Town came up before they were supposed to come up, went right back down, and then got relegated again. And that's the kind of stuff that happens to these clubs. You spend too much in the Premier League, and then when you go back down, because it's hard to stay up, when you go back down, it really hurts you. So I'm interested to see what Hull's strategy will be. Ipswich is very average. Ipswich could stay up. They have a couple of nice players. And then Cov I think has a real shot at it just since they haven't been up there in a while. Coventry City, but excited to see the Premier League next year. It was a good finish to the year. Not a great final day. Arsenal wins the league. They'll be the favorites again heading into next year. But certainly a lot of action there, and Arsenal still has another big day coming up this Saturday. They face PSG in the Champions League final. Jack, who do you have winning the Champions League? Is it a PSG repeat?
I think it is. I think PSG is too strong up top. And I'm really interested to hear your take on this. One more thing, real quick. You remember when we were in Manchester and we are having drinks with those guys outside? You came and met us. One of the guys, Jack, that we were talking to, is a diehard Coventry City fan. So I saw he's going crazy on his Instagram right now. Pretty electric that he gets to see that because I'd never really been. I mean, you've always been big into the English soccer and the Premier League and all those things and lived out there for your internship in the summer, but I'd never really seen an environment like that. And that passion being right outside Old Trafford was absolutely absurd. And he gets his wish, and they're back in the Premier League. But I do think that PSG is going to repeat. And you hit it where this is the first team to do it since Real Madrid did it 10 years ago, and they're really cementing themselves as a dynasty. And the man who's kind of getting screwed out of this whole thing, Kylian Mbappe, he deserves it the way he kind of left and then went to Real Madrid, and they're not winning. And PSG's become this absolute. I mean, they were already a great club. They had the big three a few years ago, but they have just been dominant, and they dominated 6-1, I think it was, in the final last year, and it wasn't even a close contest at all. And I think they do it again. I think, as you were saying, that Arsenal's one of the weaker teams to win the Premier League in the last few years, maybe in the last 10, 15. And I do think PSG's a stronger side here. I'm interested to see your kind of breakdown of this game.
Yeah, I've got PSG winning. I think Arsenal will play a low block and really muck up the game. I expect it to be 1-0 to PSG, maybe 2-0. I just don't think Arsenal's capable of creating enough chances to beat PSG. But they're excited and they believe in themselves, and so that kind of thing matters, and they are the champions of England, and that gives you a certain air of confidence that exists. So I'm excited to see how Arsenal comes out, because I don't think they're just going to be drunk or still partying, right? Like there's a world where that happens, I think, but it's not this one. And I think that Arsenal is going to come out and play well. I just don't think that they're good enough to beat PSG consistently. They are good enough to beat them on a one-off, though, so maybe. But certainly PSG is going to be the overwhelming favorite. Excited to see them play. Excited to see how their wingers attack. I really like PSG's matchups with their wingers against Arsenal's fullbacks. I think PSG's got a huge advantage there. So I've got PSG winning that one by likely 2 goals or more. But it should be a nice Champions League final. It may not be a pretty one to watch, though, with Arsenal playing the way I expect them to play.
Do you think Arsenal is worth a sprinkle at the value they're at right now? I think they're over 2-1 favorite. Or do you think the value's on PSG -1.5 to win by two or more at similar odds?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the value is probably on PSG to win by 2 or more. I really do. Arsenal could certainly win the game, but I would expect that to not be in regulation, which is really going to hurt your odds. So if Arsenal were to win, it'd likely be on penalties or in extra time. But that's obviously that's going to hurt your odds. So if you're on three-way money line, I would put it on PSG to win by 2 goals or more in regulation. That's my play if I had to pick one.
Okay.
And then if you had to pick a player to score, I would take Usman Dembele to get a goal. Vicha Varashkelia also up there. He's a good goal scorer, and I expect him again. Those are the wingers. I expect both of those guys to have a whole lot of success in the width.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are absolute machines. Very fun to watch last year. Wasn't really hip to them too much. Got to see a lot of their games watching the Champions League run, and they were dominant the whole time. And there was really that. As soon as they beat Liverpool, it's kind of like, all right, they're the team to beat now. And nobody was ever really able to make it too difficult on them. They were kind of able to dominate their way through. We're a pretty decent favorite, but nobody saw this absolute just destruction of Inter Milan in that final. That was egregious and not even a close contest. So hopefully we get a better one this year. I love the Champions League final. It's a very fun event. I love the one-off. I like the one-game championships. I think that makes a lot of things fun. Where it's just all right, it's win or go home. It's not. I love. Don't get me wrong. I love the 7 game series, but there's a reason why people love Game Sevens more than any other game because it's the win or go home game. Everybody loves a win or go home game, and that's what we get to see. So I'm very excited for that one.
And then on the topic of soccer, right here, we'll wrap this up and then let you finish this out with some UFC. The World Cup squads are beginning to be announced. Spain picks 0 players from Real Madrid.
Wow. Who were some of the surprising ones there? Who were some
Well,
of
the
the
main one that was expected to be picked was Dean Howson, the center back. He used to play for Bournemouth, and he made the move over to Real Madrid this season, and he was not selected. Real Madrid doesn't have a lot of Spanish players, but it is interesting to see that they pick no Real Madrid players. That is entirely uncommon, especially considering Casillas was in that squad forever. And then, Real Madrid is the biggest or second biggest club in Spain, depending on who you ask. And that is just unbelievable to see no players for Spain playing for Real Madrid. Just absolutely unbelievable.
That's crazy. Do you know how many guys from Barca there were? So obviously, I
A
mean,
bunch, a
a bunch.
bunch.
Yeah.
Ferran Torres,
Yeah.
Pedri,
Hmm.
Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí. A whole host of them. And then zero from Real Madrid. So I'm curious if Real Madrid fans will even root for the Spanish team. Knowing them, that their allegiance is strong with the Blancos. So definitely an interesting situation there in Spain. And then for the United States, Diego Luna not going to make the squad, and then it looks like Gio Reyna is going to make the squad. You have any thoughts on that, Jack?
I saw that notification pop up, and I was not too surprised for it. I'm not like too hip to it, but I did really like. I really thought, and I'd been watching. I was like, Gio Reyna is he not one of our best guys? I mean, obviously, like Pulisic is he's that guy for us. But is Gio Reyna not one of our top players? Kind of surprising that, and I could be wrong here, but kind of surprising that he was nearly left off the roster.
Yeah, so Reyna has had some really good years. He's had some really average years. He's had some really bad years in the last couple, and he was a problem in the camp in the 2022 World Cup, which is the main reason why they thought he was going to get left off this year, because his attitude and all of that has been pretty poor. But they have decided to take him. Luna, who is kind of everybody's darling, he's going to get left at home. He's not really good enough to be on the squad, to be honest. So I'm not surprised that they left him off. He just doesn't have it. Whatever it is that you got to have in order to be in the World Cup squad, he's just not quite there. He's close. He's very close, but he's not quite there. He doesn't really give you a lot when he comes on. Maybe a little bit of annoyance, and he's quick, but he's just not good enough to play at that level. He's great in the MLS, but he is not good enough to compete on an international level. Whereas Reyna has more experience in that arena, and you just are going to feel more confident having Reyna on the pitch.
Yeah, that makes sense. And our guy Luke with another question here about Barca, so we can get into that one there.
As always, Barca DNA carrying the Spanish team. Not really surprised that Luis de la Fuente didn't call up any Madrid players, as none of the Spanish players really showed themselves for that team this year. Obviously, Barca just dominating the roster. I think they picked 8 with Fermin Lopez being injured. Should have been 9. So what do you think that the Madrid fans will be responding to this with?
If you
Yeah,
can't
well, we
tell,
learned.
Luke's a Barca fan.
Yeah, I can tell. So we lived in Madrid. It's actually where we met, and those people are very, very closely aligned with Real Madrid. But they're also Castillo, which is the central part of Spain where Madrid is located, and they've got a very strong Spanish identity. Whereas if this was a situation where Barcelona had 0 players, I don't think the Catalan would care about the Spanish national team. Like, I don't think they would root for them. I do think that the Castillos, the people from Madrid, are going to root for Real Madrid, or are going to root for the Spanish national team, as opposed to not rooting for them because they don't have any Real Madrid players. I think that the allegiance to Spain is very strong, especially in Madrid. But it's definitely an interesting question there, Luke, because you never know how those people are going to respond to a situation like that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think they really are going to buy into Spain. I mean, especially Madrid being the capital of the entire country, there's probably going to be like parades and riots in the streets right on Gran Via there. I mean, I would love to see them put the game up on the big screen in that whole area right across from the Five Guys. Just right there, put the game up on the big screen, have everybody in the middle, and just get rowdy for a big Spain game. I think so. To answer your question, yes, I think the Spaniards, especially in Madrid, will buy in.
All right, Jack, let's wrap it up with UFC.
Okay. So before I go into UFC, we're going to talk a little bit of boxing. Boxing, and finally this weekend, it has been revealed, and now it's being more on a grand stage, that boxing is the most corrupt sport in the entire world by a landslide. Rico Verhoeven, undefeated kickboxer for 10 years, was a plus 1,800 underdog going against Alexander Usyk, the greatest heavyweight of the generation, undefeated. Rico, through 10 rounds, in my opinion, was up 8 to 2 or 9 to 1. There was no world where it was a close fight. Two of the judges had it tied. Alexander Usyk then drops him in the 11th round, and then the very controversial stoppage at the very end. Horrible stoppage. It's a world title fight. Even the announcers were complaining about it. Something you rarely see. This happens all the time in boxing. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Ngannou won that fight. He drops him in the third round. The ref gave Tyson 23 seconds to recover and get up before the fight resumed. Absolutely ridiculous. You see, guys, Ryan Garcia, who the media doesn't like because he says a lot of crazy things, was a plus 800 underdog against Devin the Dream Haney when he was 32-0. And he went in and beat him. He dropped him 3 times, and they reversed it, and he got caught for like a .01 of substance. Obviously, like probably not like the best thing, but they ruled that one a no contest, and it was an absolute fight that he lost. You see this time and time again where boxers will be built up against absolute cans to keep their undefeated records, and these judges are clearly under some kind of bias or being paid off because these scorecards are absolutely horrible. So the sport of boxing overall is just absolutely destroyed. It's so corrupt. People get on Dana White for not paying his fighters enough money, which that's a whole different debate. I think Dana White does a great job running the company, but money has absolutely ruined boxing, and the fact that these big guys will get a bunch of money to go fight, and they just can't, they just won't lose unless they are brutally knocked out because the judges are just so biased. So that's my little rant about boxing being rigged. We're back, UFC Fight Night. Song versus Figueiredo. Song Yadong, great fighter, big fan of his. He's a great striker at 135 pounds. He just recently lost to Sugar Sean O'Malley in a pretty close fight. Some people think he won that fight. I think Sean won that fight. Obviously, it's a money on Sean, but that's not coming into it. Sean did win that fight 100%, 2 to 1. He had the nice knee in the third round. Very good win. Figueiredo's on a very big downhill slide here. He was a former 2-time champion at 125 pounds. Multiple times he defended it. Has some of the most vicious, brutal wins. If you watch him versus Jose Benavidez, that is an absolute brutal fight. The guy got knocked down 3 times badly, gets submitted. He wakes up screaming in front of his wife, like pretty brutal stuff. And that's what Figgy does to people. But I think in this spot, at this point in his career, Song Yadong's not going to lose this fight. I think this is one where he should be able to dominate him and get him out of there pretty early, maybe the third or the fourth round. I think another interesting fight. We get a couple good fights on this card. I think Zhang Mingyang versus Alonzo Menifield's another good fight. Zhang Mingyang is coming off of a main event loss in his hometown in China versus Johnny Walker. He was a 5 to 1 favorite. Johnny comes in and starts leg kicking him, and he didn't know how to defend it and got TKO'd in the second round. But Alonzo Menafield does not have a great fight IQ. I think he's going to run in there, just try to throw bombs. I think Zhang's going to be able to get him out of there probably in the first round here. Looking at our next fight, Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. Kai Asakura had a lot of hype coming into the UFC. He was the first guy, or one of the first people to ever get a title shot, having 0 fights in the UFC. They put him right against Alexandre Pantoja immediately with no fights. He got dominated and submitted in the first round, and then was a minus 320 favorite against the veteran Tim Elliott. Got dominated and submitted again in that fight. He's another 3 to 1 favorite against Cameron Smotherman, who's not a great fighter. He's on the younger side as well. This is a must-win for Asakura. If Asakura is able to keep it on the feet, this is more of a striking matchup for him. Asakura is known as a striker. He fought in Raisin over in Japan, which is a good promotion. And if he's able to keep us on the feet, it'd be very interesting to see. And I want to see him fight on the feet because that's what the UFC paid the big bucks to get him over here, was for him to strike and throw kicks and punches and try to knock somebody out, not just get taken down and submitted. Next, Talison Teixeira versus Sergey Pavlovich. This one is a fun firefight. Now, Sergey is a minus 500 favorite. Rightfully so. He's a much stronger fighter, the much more technical fighter. He's a great kickboxer. Ever since he got TKO'd in the first round against Tom Aspinall, he never's been the same fighter. He's been very gun shy. I think he'll continue to be gun shy in this fight against Teixeira, who also has a lot of knockout power. But Teixeira's very long. And if he's able to use his distance and use that jab to keep him away, then Sergey is going to be forced to get inside. And you do not want to force a guy like Sergey to get inside on you. Because if Sergey gets inside and starts throwing haymakers and huge bombs at him, Talison's going down in the first round for sure. I mean, Talison got in close versus Derek Lewis and got TKO'd in 30 seconds. And that was a controversial stoppage, but it wasn't because he was grabbing the fence. So, Talison, this is a sneaky underdog spot, but I think if he's able to use his length, he has a chance. But if this is a brawl, he's going to get KO'd, flat in his face. Not going to be a good one at all. They've announced some new fights as well, and overall, I'm going to talk about it again. It's getting closer and closer to happening. The Mac is back. I'm so excited. I'm working on trying to get a trip to Vegas. I just cannot stop talking about this fight. Getting Conor McGregor back is so good for the sport. Max Holloway is a qualified fighter too, where he's the former he's a former 145-pound champion, held that belt. He's a former BMF world champion. He has what I consider to be one of the most shocking and greatest knockouts in UFC history when he beat Justin Gaethje with 1 second left in a 25-minute fight, where they said, let's throw down. He throws an absolute nasty overhand right, knocks him out with a second to go. That was absolutely nuts. And absolutely incredible matchup. And if the Notorious One makes the walk, this would be the biggest spectacle the UFC's had in a long time. And with this, with the White House card coming before that, and I'll probably do a whole video where I break down the White House card because that's 6 amazing fights on there that I'm very excited to see. But overall, again, been saying it a lot. The UFC shines in the summer, and we are getting to see it more than we have in the last few years. The UFC is really, they're coming back. The star power has been a problem for the UFC in recent memory. There's not a lot of big guys now. I mean, right now you can really go Poatan, Islam Makhachev, Ilya Taporia, McGregor, and he's not even fighting that much. Holloway's a big star. I don't think he's on that level yet. Tom Aspinall's pretty big. Um, but there's not that many guys that you look at and like, wow, these guys are global superstars. So it's very fun and a very good time to be a UFC fan. That's all I got for this week's episode on Jack's UFC breakdown. But again, Jack, always enjoy these. Very fun to get it done with you.
Yeah, sorry, I was kind of moving around there. Had to switch some
All
things
good.
out. So yeah, that was great, Jack. As always, we love hearing about it. Love showing the passion too. So make sure you're tuning in to all these UFC events, and you can get these breakdowns from the man himself, Jack Rosenthal. So thank you again for a great episode. It is another wonderful Jack and Jack podcast. These go up on YouTube as well as Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as we post clips and little things onto our TikTok and Instagram. So make sure to follow us over there on the Jack and Jack pod, and make sure to put on notifications here on the podcast so that you can come in and ask questions like our guys, Luke and James. Thank you to you guys for asking some questions. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.